get you laughing. We're scrubbed and ready to go. Hello from Fiffin and Faffin. I'm the string and I'm the bow. I'm the straight man and I'm the daftin. I'm the rain and I'm the dough. If you're in need of cheer and life is getting you done, we'll dry your fallen tear and chase away that crime. Hello from Fiffin and Faffin. Hello from Jerry and Joe. When we hear you clapping, it sets our heart aglow.
We present Fiffin and Faffin, the Comeback Kids. Episode 3, The Grass is Always Greener.
Well, Jerry, here we are outside this beautiful hospital celebrating 72 years of the National Health Service.
Yeah, 72 years and I'm still trying to get an appointment with a GP.
Now, Jerry, don't exaggerate. These brave doctors and nurses have risked life and limb to get us all through this pandemic.
You're absolutely right, Joe. Let's hear it for the staff here at St. Joseph.
Yeah!
But I still can't get on with my GP.
What's with you and this GP?
Well, I went to see him last week. I said, GP, last week, I've just noticed I've got a right toe on my left foot and a left toe on my right foot.
And what did he say?
He said I've got myxomatosis.
He was probably only joking with you.
Well, he wasn't joking. He wouldn't give me any sleeping tablets 2 weeks ago. I thought, how can he sleep in his bed knowing I'm not sleeping in mine?
Did you explain to him that show business can be very, very stressful?
Oh, yeah. I said, Doctor, couldn't you reconsider?
And did he change his mind?
No. He said, okay, let me sleep on it. But it's okay. It's okay because, Joe, I found a great way to get to sleep.
Yeah? You found a great way to get to sleep, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
What do you do?
Lie at the edge of the bed.
You lie at the edge of the bed.
Oh, you'll soon drop off.
Anyway, Jerry, you would have any trouble going to sleep here in St. Joseph's. Such a calm atmosphere.
Yeah, I wish they were all like this.
Well, have you had a bad experience in hospital, Jerry?
Well, I was in hospital once, and the surgeon uttered a 4-letter word during my operation.
What was that?
Oops.
Jerry, I never know when you're serious or not.
Well, that's why we're a double act.
But always remember, Jerry, there's always somebody worse off than you.
Joe, you're very right on that score. I was in hospital once, and there was a fella in the next bed who lost an ear.
Really?
Yes.
And how did they treat him?
Well, they transplanted a pig's ear.
Now that's unusual.
Oh, yes. Apparently, it was the first time it had ever been performed in this country.
Was it successful?
Well, after the operation, the surgeon let him listen to the radio on the earphones.
Yeah, and what happened?
The surgeon said, well, what's the verdict? And this man says, Doctor, the left ear's great, but on the right one, there's a bit of crackling.
Well, on that note, I think we should take our leave of the staff and patients here at St. Joseph's Hospital.
But before we do, Joe, I'd like to congratulate them.
Okay, congratulate them.
Well, at least their theatre is still open.
You know, Jerry, it reinforces the point. Health is something money can't buy.
And that's a good title for a song.
Yep.
There are some things money can't buy. Look up at the stars in the sky. A full moon looks so nice, but on that you can't put a price. There are some things money can't buy. Take a deep breath and sigh at a sunset by the sea. And every day you get one free.
Now you can earn as much dough. you can't even lend it.
That happened to my Uncle Joe, 'cause he was too ill to spend it. Well, you can try and try and try and try to build your bundle high, but you cannot take it with you when you die. There are some things money just can't buy. Hi, I'm Jerry Coffin, one half of the act you've just been listening to. As you heard, the show was performed outside our local hospital, St. Joseph's. The hospital got wind that we'd just done a show outside the Full Moon Nursing Home and thought it would be a great morale booster for their nurses, doctors and patients to do a show here. So Joe and I were glad to be of service. After all, hadn't these guys been on the front line saving lives during the pandemic? Besides, Joe and I were happy to get out of the house. In that close-knit environment, tempers could easily get frayed. I mean, don't get me wrong. Most of the time, Joe and I got on like a house on fire. We could laugh at the world. But I know he was getting increasingly frustrated that he hadn't heard from his wife, Anna. So, the morning after the hospital show, I got up early and slipped down to get some provisions. I also did something I thought might generate a bit of work for us. Morning, Joe. There's some milk in the fridge.
Is it fresh?
I'll check. Moo.
Very funny. Did you get any Rice Krispies?
Yeah, there's some in the cupboard.
Jerry, you've had them since a year, Dot. Whenever I put sugar on them, they don't go snap, crackle and pop. They go snap, crackle and matron.
Who's a grumpy boots today, this morning?
Never mind. Has the mail arrived?
Yes, but it was all junk mail. I've done a deal with the postman, Joe. He drops the junk through the letterbox. I pick it up, throw it in the waste paper basket, then take the waste paper basket and put it in the recycling bin.
Why don't you leave the recycling bin outside the front door so the postman can just drop the junk straight into it? Save yourself the trouble.
Yeah, I'll write that down. Speaking of which, have you still not heard from Anna?
No.
Have you tried ringing her again?
It's a new number. I think I'm a digit short because it keeps ringing out.
Well, at least she's safe with her parents over there in Warsaw.
Is anyone really safe from this virus?
That's true. Well, things are getting better. Last night I heard on the news that the situation was improving.
Now look, Joe, I know this lockdown is easy, but I don't fancy going back home just yet, especially with Anna not there. Do you mind if I just stay here a bit longer, do you?
That's fine, Joe. It's good company for me. You can stay as long as you like.
Thanks, pal. You are a pal, you know. I'm sorry I've been a bit touchy lately. If the truth were known, Anna and I weren't getting on too well before she went to see her folks. That's why I'm a bit worried that I haven't heard from her.
Oh, that's understandable. True love never runs smooth. I wish I had a fiver for every time Ruby and I had a Barney. Now that she's gone, I even miss the rise. Listen, if I can do anything to make her stay here more comfortable...
No, you're fine. Well, you're fine. So, yeah. Well, actually, there was something.
Oh? What was that?
Well, you're inclined to use words rather a lot, and it does jar with me.
I know exactly what you mean, Joe. Every time I hear the word squirrel, it drives me nuts.
Now you're sending me up.
No, that was just a joke. Look, tell me what words get on your nerves, and I'll stop using them.
Well, words like unprecedented.
Unprecedented?
Yeah. When you're talking about the pandemic, you keep saying we're living in unprecedented times.
Well, all right, Joe. If it bugs you that much, I'll just go, we're living in bleep bleep times.
Well, you don't have to go that far, Jerry. Just use a different word. For example, instead of saying unprecedented times, just say something like we're living in turbulent times or living in troublesome times.
You know, I've never used those two words before. You could say, if I did use them, it would be unprecedented.
Right, that's it.
Joe, where are you going? You haven't finished your Rice Krispies.
You can stick the Rice Krispies where the squirrel stuck his nuts.
I never saw Joe for the rest of the day. In fact, the only way I could get him to come out of his room for dinner was to tell him I'd bought a new box of Rice Krispies and that I'd emptied the sugar out of the sugar tin and promised to put 50p in every time I mentioned the word unprecedented. When he did come out, though, it was as if nothing happened. You know, that's what I loved about Joe. He used to let bygones be bygones and get on with life. That was just as well, really, because I was about to tell him about my next plan to keep Fiffin and Faffin going during the lockdown. Here we are, Joe. Chips and haddock for you and chips in place for me.
Thanks. Was there many in the chippy?
There was a fair amount. They were all behaving themselves, you know. Yeah, I mean, keeping distance and wearing masks. I saw a funny thing outside the bank, though.
Oh, what's that?
They had a sign that said, "Everybody must wear a mask, except robbers."
These chips are nice.
Joe, who was that comic who did the joke about the chips?
Which one?
He was the one. He used to do this. He went into a fish and chip shop and the owner tells him they've run out of chips. And he said, "Well, this is a fish and chip shop and it says so outside and I'm not leaving this here shop until I get chips." Oh, what was his name? Arthur something.
Oh, I know. It was Arthur Quickly.
That's the very man. I remember the joke had a great punchline.
Yes, I remember. Yeah, went like this. The owner says to him, "If you take away the H from fish, what have you got?" Arthur says, "Fists." The owner then says, "If you take away the D from and, what have you got?" And Arthur says, "An." Then the owner says, "Now, take away the flip away from chips, what have you got?" Arthur says, "There's no flip in chips." The owner says, That's what I'm trying to tell you.
There's no flip in chips. You know, his son Victor is a magician.
Really?
Yeah, he's been doing garden visits during the lockdown.
Garden visits.
Yeah, he does private shows for people in their own gardens while their families sit round and watch.
But he does big illusions. Won't they see how he does them?
Well, he gets away with it, Joe. I've heard he's very good. Apparently, he makes his assistant disappear, then she comes out of the bushes. He always was a class act. He's a charmer. He finishes his act by taking a flower from the garden and giving it to the woman of the house.
Well, he won't go far if he needs a plant, will he? How do you know all this anyway?
Well, he's on one of my Facebookers. He recently put up a picture of this big posh house that he played. He joked they had 2 swimming pools, one with no water for people who can't swim.
Oh, sounds like you're leading up to one of your dubious suggestions.
Well, as you can hear, folks, I let it on a bit thick when I was singing the praises of Victor Quickly doing his tricks and garden shows. You see, I had something up my sleeve myself. However, getting Joe on board was always very tricky. However, nothing ventured, nothing gained. So I decided to make my pitch the next morning at breakfast. So, how do you like your Rice Krispies, Joe?
Yeah, they're all right as Rice Krispies go. I suppose at least they're fresh.
And is the milk fresh as well?
Yeah. Say, what is this? Be kind to a straight man day?
You know, I couldn't stop thinking about young Victor Quickly and the money he makes doing those garden shows.
He can't be making a fortune, surely.
Well, maybe not if you take the shows one by one. But if he does 2 or 3 a day, that can amount to a tidy sum when twilight comes.
Hold on, Jerry. You're not thinking we could do our act in the people's back garden, are you?
Well, I rang young Victor and he said he gets £400 for 20 minutes. Well, he's not a name, so we could get twice as much.
Well, what about a PA system?
Well, Emily's dad, Freddie. He's the very man. He said he could borrow his any time.
And what if it rains?
Well, the audience can run indoors and open the windows, just like they did at St. Joseph's Hospital and the Full Moon Care Home.
While we stand there getting soaked to the skin.
Oh, no, Joe. We put on the umbrellas. Then we can finish our act with that Gene Kelly routine we used to do in the pantomime.
Okay, for the start, how do we advertise it?
Well, it's funny you should mention that. I've written out an advert that John and Ann down at the post office can put in the window. Here, I'll read it to you. Ever wondered what happened to comedy double act Fiffin and Faffin? Well, if you want to organize a private open-air birthday or anniversary party in your back garden for a modest fee, the boys will be happy to turn up and perform for you. For more information, contact 07283 442916. P.S. Government guidelines apply.
And what do we do for an encore? Cut their grass?
That's funny. I'll put that on the advert in between contact details and government guidelines. So what do you say, Joe?
I don't know, Jerry. Sounds like one of your harebrained schemes.
Yes, Joe took a bit of shifting on this one, but he finally succumbed when I told him it would be only well-to-do families that could afford to pay the £800. Then I showed him a picture that Victor quickly put up of the mansion he played a few days before. However, before I placed the advert up on the post office window, Joe and I had an appointment the next morning in a local recording studio that Emily, our agent, had arranged before the lockdown kicked in. You see, one of her clients, a singer-songwriter called Jess Newton, had written a song that he thought would be ideal for us. So she stumped up the money to make the recording. Agents can be notoriously tight with their money, but I suppose in this instance she was making two of her acts happy, so she figured the small investment was worth it. So the very next day we were in the studio.
Okay, boys, let's go for a recording.
You're never too old to be a Valentine. Come in from the cold and put your hand in mine. To be that someone special, you can be any age. Let's grab the book of love now and add that extra page. Tomorrow is a big day. I've got myself a card to say how much I love you. Well, it wasn't that hard. I know you feel the same, but you think that it's too late. But when that magic moment comes, it's time to celebrate. You're never too old to be a Valentine. Come in from the cold and put your hand in mine. To meet that someone special, you can be any age. Let's grab the book of love now and add an extra page.
I know it's not our first time, we've both been there before, but this could be the last time true love knocked on our door. All romance is bittersweet, with the tears you get the pain, and we'll both see that sunshine when we made it through the rain. You're never too old to be a Valentine. Come in from the cold and put your hand in mine. To meet that someone special can be any age. Let's grab the book of love now and add an extra page. Let's grab the book of love now and add an extra page. And so... And so with Emily's Brass, we made our first recording. Both Joe and I liked the sentiment, and even though with social distancing rules, we could only talk to the sound engineer from a distance, it was a nice diversion from being stuck at home all day. Next morning, I put up the advert in the local post office letting the world know that Joe and I were available for garden parties.
Hello?
Oh, hello. I'm ringing about the adverts in the post office window.
Yes, what can I do for you, madam?
Well, if I book you for my son's birthday party in the garden, can he and his friends throw sponge balls down at you from his bedroom window?
What?
Oh, well, the long only do it when the policeman hits Punch over the head with his truncheon.
How old is your son, madam?
Oh, he'll be 5 in 2 weeks' time.
I think you've answered the wrong advert. You want a children's entertainer.
Oh.
I did notice there was an advert for a children's entertainer and Punch and Judy Man up in the post office window. It's just next to ours.
Oh, well, that's what's confused me then. Oh, well, I'll go back in the post office and write out the number of the children's entertainment, Jackie.
Yeah. I would if I was you, madam.
Oh, well, I'm terribly sorry to have troubled you.
That's no trouble at all. I'm just happy to have pointed it out to you and sent you in the right direction. Bye.
Kids throwing sponge balls in the bedroom window, indeed. That would really make Joe's day.
What would really make Joe's day?
Oh, I've just had some woman on the phone who should have gone to Specsavers. She should have gone before she checked the adverts on the post office window.
Don't tell me. She thought we were a babysitting service.
Nearly. She thought we were children's entertainers.
Perish the thought.
You better take this one, Joe. I've suffered enough from this morning.
Okay.
Hello, Joe Fiffin speaking. What can I do for you?
Oh, hello. My parents have just been down to the post office and they've noticed you've an advert in window. Could you tell me, is it the real Fiffin and Faffin or is it a tribute act?
It's the real ones.
Hey, Dad, it's the real ones. Oh, my dad remembers seeing you as a kid, but he says, well, it was so long ago that you must be dead by now.
Well, sir, now that we have established that we're still alive, is there anything I can do for you?
Oh, no, thanks. My dad was just curious, that's all.
Goodbye, sir.
Well, things weren't going too well on the private garden party front. I was beginning to kick myself for putting the advert up in the first place when the phone rang again.
Hello?
Hello there. Hey, I'd like to book the double act Fiffin and Faffin for a private birthday party in our back garden.
Well, you're speaking to Jerry Faffin himself.
Oh, hello, mate. How are you then? Are you keeping healthy during these trying times, I hope?
Well, I'm as well as can be expected.
So then, which one are you then? Are you the funny one?
Yeah, that's right.
I thought so. Hey, he doesn't have to give you some stick, that other fella, doesn't he? Hey, if I were you, I would headbutted him long ago.
It's only an act, sir.
Oh, of course it is. I'm just winding you up, mate. Now, could we get to business? Please?
Right. By the way, what is your first name?
Oh, you can call me Reg.
No, Reg. Whose birthday is it?
Oh, it's my old man.
And how old is he?
Oh, he'll be 90. Hey, he's a massive fan. Hey, he remembers your jokes first time round. Hey, he's always going on about Fiffin and Faffin. Now then, what sort of an act? How long do you do?
Well, about 20 minutes or so. After that, people's attention starts to wander. You see, Reg, outside gigs are an uncontrolled environment. I mean, you're battling traffic, overhead planes, even the odd police siren. I mean, sure, we can ad-lib our way around most things, but it can be a distraction both for the audience and the performer.
Well, I suppose I never thought of that. And what do we do about the money? I mean, do I pass the hat round when you're finished?
Oh no, we've got a fixed fee. Now, we normally go out for $2,000, but for a 20-minute outdoor event, how does 800 smackers sound?
800? Well, I suppose it's not every day your pop's 90. Besides, you fellas have played London Palladium, haven't you? Yeah, go on. I'll have a piece of that for 800.
You see, Reg, you've got to remember this. You're not just paying for the 20 minutes we do on the day. You're paying for the 40 years experience we have, travelling up and down the country, playing all the theatres and clubs.
Hey, you should have been a second-hand car salesman. You could sell pepper in a pandemic.
By the way, what do you do yourself?
Oh, me? I deal in scrap metal. I'm a scrap metal dealer.
Okay, well, I won't keep you any longer, Reg. Can you just send a confirmation email through the post with the date, the time you want us there? Oh, and of course, your address.
No problem. And I'll give you the readies on the day. Now, what's your email?
Jerry at fnf.co.uk.
Oh, listen, before you go, when you've finished your spot, I know you can't mix and mingle too much because of social distancing, like, but if we brought a cake out, would you both lead the singing with happy birthday?
Of course. I'll learn the words before then.
Oh, very good. You've started already.
Oh, by the way, what's your dad's name?
He's called Derek.
Okay, got that. Well, it's a pleasure doing business with you, and I look forward to seeing you at the birthday bash.
Me too, mate. Look forward to seeing you. Bye then.
Bye.
And that was it, our first lockdown garden event. The day of the show, we picked up Freddie's sound system and headed off. Joe was his normal grumbling self, warning me that the weather forecast had predicted rain. He got even more apprehensive as he drew near to Reg's house, and the neighbourhood wasn't exactly Mayfair. In fact, when we passed a wall dubbed with graffiti, I could almost hear his palpitations. Finally, we arrived at Reg's front door, and a lady came out to greet us.
You must be flipping and flapping.
No, madam, fiffin and faffin. But you did get the F bit right.
Oh, I am sorry. I'm always making effing mistakes with people's names.
Very good. With a line like that, you should be doing the cabaret yourself.
Hey, I'd no fear. There were a Punch and Judy man appearing in garden. He went 2 streets away. Lady who organised it let out kids from street throw sponge balls at him from an upstairs window. One blooming kid threw a cricket ball.
I think I know the lady you mean. And what happened?
Well, it missed him by about that much. Don't worry though, we won't let him do that here.
I take it you're Reg's wife.
Yeah, my name's Rita. Reg has gone to get his dad, you know, the old birthday boy. He's in a wheelchair now. Well, he's a wee bit deaf, but hey, he's 90. What do you expect? Oh, here they are now.
Oh, hiya lads, I see you got here all right. Hey, look who's turned up, Dad. Your favourites. What? Your favourite comedy double act, Fiffin and Faffin. They've turned up to perform at your birthday. You promised me a kissingram.
Hey, will you fellas, do you want something to drink?
Oh, yeah, I'll have a cup of tea.
I'll have a large whiskey.
Can we see where we're performing, Reg?
Oh, sure, I'll just push Dad out the way there so we can say hello to a few people and, hey, you can follow me.
And so we followed Reg through the house out into the back garden. If you hadn't already known Reg was a scrap metal dealer, his back garden was a dead giveaway. The whole of the bottom comprised of the spare body parts of clapped out cars. If he ever decided to have a car boot sale, that's exactly what you could come home with. A car boot. On the good news front, both he and Rita had laid out the chairs with social distancing in mind. And apart from a few younger members, most of the audience were of a more mature age group. We'd no sooner set the sound system up and we were ready to go when we heard this.
Look over there, Reg.
Oh no, it's that blasted next door neighbour piddling on my bonfire again. Right, I'll blooming show him.
What do you think he's going to do, Joe?
I don't know. But he means business, whatever it is.
Look, what's that he's got in his hand?
Looks like a gun.
What?
Oh, it's okay, boys. That handgun only shoots blanks. That's why I fired it above his head. He only uses it to frighten burglars.
Well, he didn't have frightened his neighbour. Look, he's just gone into the bushes.
I hope he's going to introduce you.
Well, folks, I hope I didn't startle you too much, but I'd like to get things going with a bang. Now, I'd like to introduce you to my dad's favourite comedy double act, the famous Fiffin and Faffin.
Well, thank you, Reg. It's the first time we've ever been brought on with a 21-gun salute. Isn't that right, Jerry?
That's right, Joe. And it proves what a big shot Reg is in this neighbourhood.
That may be, but there's one man in the garden who's more popular than Reg.
Oh, who's that?
Derek, the birthday boy.
No, I can't believe he's 90.
Yeah, he looks so well.
And he's the smartest man in the garden as well.
What makes you think that?
He's asleep. Always remember, Derek, you may be older than you've ever been, but you're younger than you ever will be.
Doesn't Derek share his birthday with a very famous person?
Yes. Derek shares his birthday with a man who invented the boomerang, so I'm sure we'd all like to wish him many happy returns as well.
Jerry, didn't your granddad live well into his 90s?
That's right, Joe. 97 to be exact. The first thing he would do in the morning is read the obituaries in bed, and if his name wasn't in it, he would get up. He now goes to a special disco for senior citizens.
Really?
Yeah, it's called Slip-a-Disco.
Didn't he drive one of those mobility scooters?
Oh, yes, and he couldn't half shift. He once passed a motorist who was doing 30 miles an hour. So the motorist went up to 40, and my granddad passed him again. Then the motorist went up to 50.
Don't tell me your granddad passed the motorist when he was doing 50 miles an hour.
He did, and the motorist shouted after him, "How come you keep passing me?" My granddad shouted back, "Because you've caught my braces on your bumper."
But isn't it lovely, Jerry, to be out here in the fresh air in a nice garden setting? I believe you're a bit of a gardener yourself.
Pardon?
Well, you've got green fingers.
Yeah, and my legs are a funny colour as well.
It's so soothing to hear the birds singing in the trees and the bees flitting through the flowers.
Don't mention bees to me.
Why?
I was attacked by a bumblebee once.
And what did he do?
Well, I don't know what he did. I told him to buzz off.
Did that do the trick?
No, in fact, it made him worse. He then came at me with a phenomenal ferociousness.
Woo! They're big words.
It's the only way I can describe it. He was dive-bombing, doing somersaults. You see, he was clever.
Really?
Oh, yes, this bee had an A level.
That is clever.
Oh, yes. You know the way most bees hum?
Yeah.
This one knew the words. And then, out of the blue, he just disappeared.
You mean he vanished?
And just when I thought it was safe, he flew out from behind a rose bush and let me have it on the arm.
Oh, dear.
And an hour earlier, a taxi driver had charged me double fare.
Yeah. You won't forget that in a hurry.
Oh, no way. That was the day I got stung twice. And that's how it went. The audience, unnerved by Reg's gunslinging at the start, soon settled down and enjoyed our spot. Most of all, every time I glanced over at Derek, he was heartily chuckling away. However, when we got to the end of our act and they brought the cake on and we all sang happy birthday, there was another surprise.
Excuse me, but which one of you fired a gun and frightened my dad while he was cutting the grass?
Well, I did. I just fired it in there.
Well, now he's too scared to come out of the bushes.
Well, it's his own fault for mowing his lawn and causing disruption when he could plainly see we were putting on a cabaret show to celebrate my dad's birthday.
Look, mate, this is a housing estate, not an entertainment complex.
Loosen up, you miserable bugger.
Oh, that's how it is it?
Yeah, that's how it is.
Yeah, that's how it is. Well, I don't need a gun to sort you out. I can do it with my bare hands.
Oh, get off him, you brute.
Mind the wheelchair.
Mind the key.
Mind the sound system.
My toe.
Don't let him get away.
Jerry, I've got one of his arms. Grab the other one and we'll get him to the ground.
Hey, Dad, are you all right?
I told you should have got me a kiss of ground.
Well, as you can hear, folks, mayhem ensued. Luckily, we were able to overpower the gatecrasher, so a possible bloodbath was averted. Joe and I managed to get Reg to the safety of his house. We then quickly packed our gear and headed home. Oh, and just before we left, Rita pushed some money into my hand and gave me a whispered thank you. Morning, Joe. How you feeling after yesterday's adventures?
Yeah, I just had this dream where we all finish up in prison.
I'll get you some Rice Krispies. Oh, by the way, here's a letter. It's just arrived for you. Joe, I want to apologize for putting you through all that commotion in that garden party yesterday. When I put that advert up in the post office, never in my wildest dream. But even as I spoke, I glanced across at Joe, and I could see he was visibly shaken. obviously by the contents of the letter. Joe, are you all right?
It's from Anna. She wants a separation. Good night from Pippin and Baffin. Good night from Jerry and Joe. Great to hear you laughing at the lines that we did throw. Good night from Pippin and Baffin. Good night from Jerry and Joe. Like a flower, we've seen you blossom from the seeds that we did sow. We hope that you're content and that you've come to the right place. It was money well spent. We put a smile upon your face. Thanks from Pippin and Baffin. Thanks from Jerry and Joe. Thanks for all the clapping. And thanks for coming to our show.
You have been listening to Fiffin and Faffin, the Comeback Kids, with Jonathan Young as Joe Fiffin and Jimmy Cricket as Jerry Faffin. All of the parts were played by Mandy Stapleford and Colin Meredith. The script was written by Jimmy Cricket and the sound engineer was Mamel Grew. The programme was a Welly Boot Entertainment production.